Well, look, right before we went live, we were joking because Node has some really great fine art NFTs, like a ringer, which I have pulled up right here by Dmitry Cherniak's the artist of this, right, Node?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's what I love about, like fine art and just art in general, right? Like almost everything that becomes like iconic is at first totally hated, right? So I love showing my ringer to people and they're just like, what the crap is this? Like, I can't believe you like I spent 4 ETH on mine. And I remember telling my dad and he was like pissed. He was like, what? Why are you throwing your money away? You have like a wife and 3 kids, like, and I'm like, dude, without the context, like if you don't have
Wife and
any
3 kids.
context, is like, what is this, and the same thing same thing goes for CryptoPunks. When they first came out, nobody cared. And then what for people like me, when I was since I bought a punk early on, I was like, look, these apes are just total garbage. You know what I mean? I was like, this is lower class stuff. You know what I mean? And then, eventually they obviously did their thing. So I love how everything kind of disrupts something before and totally just destroys people.
Yeah, I wanted to pull up your actual ringer, Node. What is your OpenSea? What's the account called?
Node Vault. Node
Node
Vault.
Vault.
Can we just take a second to appreciate that Node goes around telling people to look at his ringer?
Look at my ringer.
Come check out my ringer over here.
Just check out my ringer. Yeah. There she is. Just a simple floor ringer at the moment. And that, yeah, I guess I got an offer on it, but
An offer for 44K.
Guys, I guess I got a Honda Civic being offered to me for this.
No way. Not gonna, dude. I've been diamond handing. This is my longest held asset, actually. I've had it since I think end of February last year. So
February 22nd, man, at 4.25 ETH at that time. ETH was probably between 3 and 4K at that time, right? Something like that.
No. It was much lower.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, dude. ETH went on this insane tear from like right around then up through like April, I think, right?
Yeah, that's May or so.
Yeah.
Right after the apes. It was probably the ape run that did it. But no, so Node with that offer being 35 or so, you probably could get 40 ETH pretty easily from that, I would say. But would you trade that ringer for a few other NFTs that could add up to the equivalent of floor price of that, or is that just like a never sell for you?
Yeah, I think it's everything has its price. You know what I mean? If you're an NFT guy and you say that it doesn't have a price, I don't know. But I plan on holding this like for a long time. I can't think of, the problem is I'm not comfortable enough with anything else to put my confidence in it and say I'd rather have that than my ringer. Even
CryptoPunks.
Yeah, CryptoPunk. Yeah, I may do it, but I have one of those. So I'm like, I'll just hold one of each. And hopefully, my same thesis of all value accruing to the top. And you look at, there's only a few Gen Art collections that are that have that high price point now. And they tend to kind of stay there, right? So I don't know. This is kind of the beauty of ringers for the uninitiated, for those that do not understand. Like, the one thing that I love about ringers is that they kind of help you to understand what Gen Art is, like by talking about, hey, it's just this algorithm, right? And it's a series of pegs, and you can wrap a string around pegs in an infinite number of ways. And so the art in and of itself is like teaching you about this whole movement. And that's what I love it. And it's so simple and pure. It's just, yeah, for those with taste, you know what I mean? We love it.
You got to get a big ass print of this thing in your house. I mean, if you have one of these art pieces, especially if you're not underwater on it, it's like if you bought the top, it's kind of weird to put it on the wall. But like, since you're you're in the green and you're in the black, you got to have a big ass dope framed print of it. You mentioned two others. Are you talking about Fidenza and what else?
We call them the fidenza. You know what I mean? You can't just say fidenza. It's like a
That makes it more
fidenza.
valuable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Why do you think they're the top ranked? It's like the fidenza. Like, of course, you put out the name. I love how if I just
It's by
say
a
it,
guy named
Pio's like
Tyler Hobbs.
Pio Vincenzo does not like it when I say fidenza. You know,
Tyler Hobbsio.
Tyler Hobbs. He likes dude. He understands how to market this stuff. That guy is smart AF. Did you see him at VCon?
Yeah,
So
him and
smart.
Snowfro. That's the best. A lot of people have said that's like the best. So okay, Fidenza, and then
I mean, when I think of fine art, I think of like the Italian Renaissance. So like it always gonna have a little bit more value if it's named after something that, you know, kind of fits that profile.
1,000%. I mean, you guys, you captured his genius right there. Is there another one though? No, besides Fidenza.
I feel like when it comes to the Gen Art like collections, those two stand on their own. Like, there's nothing that holds that high of a price point.
What about autoglyphs?
Oh yeah. Dude. Okay, yeah.
Those
Those are so high that I don't even like think about
like
them.
350 or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
it's so. I actually own.
Super high.
There's one on fractional art. My buddy bought one and fractionalized it, and I own like 1% of an autoglyph. And autoglyph really is the OG. It's like the first on-chain generative, and it's epic, right? These are the same guys that did CryptoPunk. So
Pio, you gotta
Labs, they nailed it.
zoom out, bro.
Dude, I'm like trying to find like where are we headed here.
We're showing us like a letter of each page.
We're gonna go through the pixels into the matrix, right, and then come back out. There we go.
Well, yeah, I mean, autoglyphs are pretty dope. I would take a ringer from an art perspective, but clearly the market is identifying the historical significance of autoglyphs, to be really, really valuable since they're priced at a premium. And then I just checked.
They're selling too.
That's what I was going to say is like the liquidity is actually there. I know it's zoomed in a lot, but if you go to activity,
there you go.
There we go.
Now we can see it. Thank you.
3 days ago, one sold for 240 ETH. So I think that 300 ETH floor is a little bit unrealistic.
It was at 350 like yesterday.
Yeah. And Ben, you mentioned like since you got in, did you ever target any sort of like, Damien Hirst or like any of these fine art things, like any of the art blocks, or were you more like, Bored Apes, Gutter Cats, pure? I know you were pure play collectibles, but did the fine art stuff ever make it into your wallet?
Like you said, I was kind of like half joking about the Bored Ape stuff, but I mean, I don't come from any kind of collector or art background. Like in fact, I always kind of avoided it, I guess, just because like, I've never been a man of culture. And so when like,
what a quote.
when I'm gonna throw that on Twitter, dude.
Dude, it's so bad. Like I talk with my buddy Robbie about it all the time. Like I have to ask him to explain things for me. Like, who's that rapper? What's that clothing line? Like, I'm just not good with that kind of stuff. And so when it comes to, collectibles and art, like I didn't come into this, like, let me find the art that speaks to me most. I was looking for, utility for the most part. And, I was looking for what can I do with this stuff and what's fun and what, what's cool. And I just didn't really see, the auto generative stuff as cool necessarily, even though like I'm a big proponent of the tech. To me, it was just like, ringers and dots and lines. Like I remember like, doing things like that with what is it, like thread and wrapping it around pins and stuff when you were younger, like playing those little games. And to me, it was just like, I don't understand this. I don't really get it. Like, yeah, there's random dots that are put on there, but for the most part, like when I first got in, I was looking for things to do, not necessarily things to look at. And so that's why, like, I never gave a shit about when people were like, yeah, Bored Apes are not fine art. And that's not, that's not valuable, because I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, what do I care for the most part? Like, I'm not a collector of art. Like, as I've, started to understand more about art history and the differences between them, I started to appreciate it more. But no, I never really came into it trying to think like, let me aspire to get a Fidenza or a ringer or something like that. Although now I can appreciate it a lot more than when I was first joining the industry.
I mean, it's a different thing, like you said, right? So it's like having one of these things is basically the same thing as like a rich guy wearing a suit you know, inviting people to his mansion for a dinner party, and there's like the big painting on the wall, and it's like, look at how rich I am, right? Whereas what we're talking about, like Bored Apes, Gutter Cats, that's almost like the kid on the playground that's like, yo, I got the dopest Pokemon cards, you know what I mean, like that type of thing. And there's different camps, right? And I definitely did not understand the art block side of it. I just at first, right? Like I get it a bit more now. I also want to point out, like, you know, you brought up your ringer node. Look at this like piece by Mondrian, which you would see in the major museums in the world. I think you probably could see this even in like the Louvre and shit like that. Is it really that much different than the Cherniac? You know what I mean? The only difference is a machine didn't make it, a guy did, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and the simplicity is there, right? And for me, like my entry into the space was through the Gen Art stuff, right? So I was following DC Investor from the beginning, and it's kind of like for me, I recognize I'm probably unique, right? But like an analogy I always use is like I didn't care about cars at all until Tesla came out, right? And then I was like, okay, I need to get a Tesla, and I should have got one, and then I did not take profits, and now I'm poor. But but like for me is like I always liked art. I appreciated art. You know, I was like maybe I was like inwardly like I was an aspiring collector. I knew like my dad like has invested. He doesn't invest. He just like buys art that he loves, and it's always been his best performing asset.
Really?
He's made so many terrible investment decisions, and art he has always done extremely well because he has good taste, and like he likes good art. And so that kind of inspired me when I got into this and I saw the generative art stuff. I was like, hey, like this actually feels like it speaks to me because I love NFTs, I love the tech, and I want to own this art. And so it's interesting, just like the different paths that we take. But I feel like I wasn't an art collector before, and I am now. I will say this, like I like the squiggles. And they grow on you over time. Like I remember seeing these at 0.3 ETH, dude.
Ooh.
And I was
wow.
I was like, look at these stupid squiggles. Why would anyone pay 0.3 for these? You know? And then like 6 months later, I buy one for 7 ETH, you know, and what I do think that it will retain some value because not because it was so early, but because it was Snowfro, like the founder of the platform, that he and even him, like he was like, I wanted to do something fun and playful to show people how this worked in the space, right? He was not trying to turn these into some crazy thing. And that's kind of part of the beauty is that it's like, it's just some simple little squiggly line, and they're actually like kind of fun. I view them as like a signature, you know? And and Art Blocks itself has been, you know, the premier. And so if it doesn't maintain its status as like the premier platform for curated generative art, then you got a problem, right? But I do think that it's in a good spot. I regret, you know, I dumped mine for the same price I bought it for several months ago.
Captain Kicks
nailed
move.
it.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
and Captain Kicks.
You buy the thing, it's going to be the best thing in the space in the future. Sell it for what you paid for.
And dude, I held it for
That's
like
a flex
almost
in
a
itself.
freaking year. Like I had it for almost a year, and then it runs. But I am a little bit hesitant, dude, because these tend to like go through their own little mini bubbles. And so I don't know, like this is their all-time high, right around their all-time high. I think they hit 15 to 18 ETH earlier. And so, yeah, straight up, Micah G, I would agree with that. Like they start looking even better the pricier they become. So I don't know. I think you may want to be careful if you're interested in a squiggle right now. But I do like them in general. I think they're great.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like even though there is historical significance to it, most people that I've ever talked to don't even know that they move. And so like the fact that like people look at it and all they see is that one marker line, and it hits different when you see it on like a Lago frame or you know something that showcases the fact that it is moving. But at the end of the day, like you have to know what it is and understand it, right? Like the thing with profile pictures is it's easy to understand, and that's why I think it spreads to the masses a little bit easier. But when you look at this, someone mentioned, I think M123 said like it's a magic marker line, right? And like it kind of does look like that. So you have to have it explained to you what the significance is. So it's not just let me look at this line, but let me open it and see that it moves and see that there's different kinds. And if you're not willing to dig into like the metadata of what makes them different from each other and how other people value them, then it's not really going to give a perspective of value for yourself. Because I look at this and I'm like, okay, that's cool, and I still kind of understand it, but not fully. And to be honest, like this just isn't my style. So when we think of having a grail or something referred to as a grail in your collection, that's also something that you want to say that you owned, which with this, like it's cool, like I'd be happy to own it, but you also want to show it off. And so this isn't something to me that I, like I want people to come to my house and look at my ringer or my squiggle, right? You know what I'm saying? Like I like, it's just not the perception that I have. And if I came over to Node's house and he's like, yo, you want to chill today? Like, yeah, let's hang out. All right, but I gotta show you this fucking squiggle first. and we walk over and I'm like, all right, cool, bro. Like I appreciate that you find value in that. And that to me is why I can support it. I just also think that, like you said, they go through their own little narratives. I think that kind of goes with what Kix was saying earlier today. There's a small subset of collectors who own this stuff, a smaller subsection of people who understand it. And then those are the people who typically will talk about it and mention it and bring it up. And when someone says, hey, what kind of art block should I buy? What kind of generative art should I buy? This is the name brand at this point. So that's why I think it goes through those cycles. People come in, hey, what should I buy? Well, if you're into fine art, you should take a look at X, Y, and Z. And squiggles, ringers, Fidenza, those are all in that conversation. So I think once you have, like people said, this solidified as fine art and they're in the conversation, they're going to go through their own ebbs and flows. But a lot of it is based on what the current narrative is at the time. And if you say generative art is going to do well, the next question for the most part is, well, which generative art? Okay, squiggles, I'll go buy one of those. Like, there's so many different kind of art blocks, but most of them just haven't caught the flame of the narrative.
And it should be said that Art Blocks hasn't bat 1,000. Obviously, that's a hard thing to do. Shout out to Snowfro, creator of Art Blocks, who invested in us in our previous round. Shout out to Snowfro for sure. Pop can't beat me to it. He said ringers are different. He thinks they look good. I agree. Note, I think that you should go to MoMA and other modern art museums and see how they're framing similar art and frame the shit out of that ringer in a big way. If you're going to keep holding it, I think that'd be a really cool thing to do. All right, before we wrap, gentlemen, I got one question for you guys. So, no one has a crystal ball, and hindsight is 2020. Hindsight at this point tells us that as soon as we started to go into this bear market, on the bloody days, those 80% drawdowns that overall 80% drawdown, the 30% drawdown days, the days where we took major steps down, we should have bought Damien Hirst. We should have bought, Chromie Squiggles. And those were, I mean, obviously you should have bought CryptoPunks, but those are really expensive, right? But these ones were trading at numbers that I think all three of us would have been comfortable buying, right? So that's on the way down. And we're not going to get that again. You're not going to get the opportunity to invest in fine art on the way down because we already went down. So now we're either going to go sideways or we're going to go up. As we go sideways or as we go up, now we know, okay, when we go bear, you go from collectibles to fine art because there's no need for utility. That's what's going to go up, is people are going to go flight to quality for art. What do we do on the way up? Is it just the opposite? What's the move on the way up? Is it mutant apes? Did Node just sell the mutant ape when he should have bought one? What's the story here?
Yeah, it probably did, go figure. I don't know, like we're seeing we've seen a bigger run, right? As in recently with some of these other, like type in memories of Qilin or Keylin. It's Qilin. Like those are near like an all-time high, and they're freaking gorgeous. This is what I love about Gen Art, is like you get to like what you like, right? If Ben hates it, that's cool. But I love this piece, right? And I'm like, okay, so I bought one because I just was like, this is legit. I could totally frame this. And by the way, I did frame I framed the dead ringers in my house. Those are awesome. They're totally
I'm gonna
cheap.
frame that too. It's so good, man. It's so good.
Yeah, it's great. And so I don't know, like on the way up, like if you're looking to be a momentum trader, then yeah, be careful. I have no idea. But that's why I kind of like the art for the long term. If I'm like, okay, if I got to hold this for a year, I'm much more comfortable in that than owning almost any PFP, to be honest. Like we're still everybody thinks that like we're kind of set, but like, dude, like every single project is making it up as they go, and that's totally fair. I love it. It's all a grand experiment, and like the apes we have no reason to doubt Yuga. They've just continued to dominate. But like you still have that execution risk with any project, any brand, whereas the art, you're just like, well, if I like it, then I'm okay having it, right?